The views expressed on this program are those of the producers and individuals appearing on this program and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Sun Prairie Media Center staff, its video service providers, or the staff and elected officials of the City of Sun Prairie.
Hello and welcome to Real Reviews. My name is Jameson Rabbit, and this week I am so pleased to be joined by a new friend of the show. Welcome, Alice Heinzen.
Hello.
How are you?
Oh, I'm so good. I'm so excited to be here.
So Alice has gotten many shout-outs on this show because Alice works at the Palace Cinema and is one of our favorite smiling faces there, and you get a lot of shout-outs on the show, but now a face to the name.
I finally made it. I'm finally here. I've been planning this same thing with Zen, and we've both been planning this.
Well, because there's, when I go into the theater, there's a lot of discussion about movies before and afterwards.
Oh,
so
yeah.
why not do it right here, right?
Why not film it and have everyone else be in on it?
Exactly so. And so we have a bunch of movies to talk about this week. We've got a really fun throwback, a streaming film, and a couple of marquee films. So I'm going to get us started with what we have on the marquee this week. We're going to get started with one of our sequels. It is The Nun II from director Michael Chavis. It is a sequel to 2018's The Nun, which in itself was a spin-off of The Conjuring 2. And the first Nun I had struggles with. And so this one I went in with kind of low expectations, but it takes place 4 years after the original. With Sister Irene, again played by Thaisa Farmiga. She is one of the heroes of the first film who sent that demon away. She's now living in a convent, and she's been trying to escape visions that she's been suffering. She also takes in a new nun, Sister Deborah, played by Reed Storm, and kind of takes her under her wing. Sister Deborah is kind of she's a rebel. She likes to smoke and wear leather jackets and stuff. In the early portions of the film, Deborah has struggled with her faith, kind of questioning her faith, and it's stated that hopefully she discovers it when she needs it. Well, we'll find out if she does. But what she doesn't know is elsewhere in Europe, this demon is taking lives as it moves westward from Romania, and it's inhabited Irene's fellow survivor, Maurice, played by James Bloquet again, who has settled in as a handyman, a groundskeeper, at a boarding school in France. Of course, in the boarding school, we have our mandatory mean girls taking advantage of a sweet girl, Sophie, played by Caitlin Rose Downey. And Irene is the stuff of legend for facing down this demon 4 years ago. So she is tasked to take Deborah and go track down this demon Valak again and send it back to hell one more time. And as Irene and Deborah chase clues down and kind of bog down in some exposition about what it feels like a Nancy Drew mystery for a little while in the middle here. And we kind of bounce back and forth between them and the boarding school and the events that are happening there, where we have the mean girls, we have a nun, we have a possessed janitor, and these dual timelines converge as the sisters join up with the gals at the boarding school to fight this horrific beast that uses Maurice as its pawn. And there's notably a special religious object that everyone is after that can either defeat it or empower it. And I felt like at this point when they're searching down this religious object, these eyes, that it kind of felt like a Goonies movie.
Yeah.
They're like, reflect the light to the floor, dig this up, and all these kids chasing it around trying to find this object. I don't know, I found this movie to be mostly jump scares.
Yeah, and they were like really obvious jump scares too, I thought. Like you could see them coming a mile away.
Yeah.
So it's not like it comes out of nowhere. You're kind of just like waiting.
There's a dark shadow.
There's a silhouette. Yep. I wonder when she's gonna show up. Like. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I thought there was one legit scare in here when this beast appears.
Oh yeah.
This goat man.
Yeah,
oh, that's kind of weird. That's kind of creepy. I found the end of this movie really unsatisfying.
I'm not even gonna lie. I didn't even make it to the end.
You're probably all right.
It was just boring. I don't know. It just felt like any average horror movie. It was just set up, really obvious jump scares. Like the acting was all good and the costumes were fine and the sets were fine. I just thought it was so average, and I was just like, I don't even care.
I kind of felt the same way. Like, I like Thaisa Farmiga. I love her older sister, Vera. I normally love Storm Reed and everything I see her in. I didn't think she was given really anything to do in this as Sister Deborah.
She's
like,
just
okay, so she's a rebel.
Right. And like she sneaks on the bus, and doesn't believe it's
but
does
like,
a stereotypical
that's not
rebel
a character.
Right, exactly. It's a caricature.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought the sets were cool of, but a lot of it was people running down dark corridors with flashlights.
Right.
The newsstand bit that we saw in the trailer was really cool.
Gosh.
Like, that was a cool set piece, I thought. I knew where it's going, but I'm like, oh, it's kind of cool because they did it practically. They didn't do it with effects.
Right, and that in and of itself, I'm like, okay, you get props for that. I love any kind of practical effect in a horror movie.
Right. But yeah, I don't know. The scares were the action was really mediocre. I feel like the Conjuring universe on its own is just kind of slowly, like, I think those early Conjuring movies are great horror movies, and I think they've just kind of gotten...
Yeah, I think the Conjuring movies are good.
Yes.
I think the Annabelle and the Nun movies are kind of just cash grabs.
Exactly. So I also thought it was funny that when we see the poster for the Nun II, the 2 is represented by Roman numerals. Two eyes. And I was like, the whole movie they're searching for 2 eyes. I don't think they were that clever though. I think I just figured that out. Unfortunately, I don't think either one of us really enjoyed this movie all that much. What did you end up giving the Nun to?
I ended up giving it a 2. That
seems fair.
I honestly think I would have enjoyed it more if it was a worse movie.
There's times where that's the truth. At least make it bad.
Like, at least have it be fun to watch.
Right.
Like,
then
it
it's
was just
interesting.
Like, I would rather just watch the first Conjuring movie, honestly. That one was...
I agree. And I gave it, I believe, the exact same score. I think I gave it 2 stars as well. Just, it's boring.
Right. It's been done before.
It's not exciting at all.
Didn't try anything new.
All right. Speaking of sequels, let's roll into what else we have on the marquee.
Speaking of movies just existing, even though they didn't need to.
Oh, no.
My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I love the trilogy. It follows Tula Portokalos, played by actress Nia Vardalos, as she tries to grow as her own person while constantly dealing with her boisterous, nosy, harebrained Greek family. In this movie, Vardalos takes up the mantle of lead actress, director, and writer.
It's a lot.
It takes place, I believe, a year after the second movie?
Yeah, the timeline kind of confused me because her daughter, it's been years since the second, and her daughter was just going to college.
Yes!
And then it's like, I flunked out my freshman year. I'm like, wait, it's been like 7 years.
That's exactly what I was like, you look way older than just being in college for 1 year.
Yeah.
But anyway, so it's a year after the second movie. Paris is finishing up her first year of college, and Tula's father has since passed away. The Portokalos family is invited to a reunion in Greece, and Tula's also been tasked with sharing her late father's journal that he made of his life in America. She's been tasked to share that with his loved ones in the homeland. So Tula, her husband Ian, and Paris, her daughter, head over to Greece with her brother Nick and her Aunt Vula and Aunt Frida, which...
Of course.
Such a breath of fresh air for this movie. Once they get there, though, they're shocked to discover from their cousin Victory, who's also the newly voted mayor in this town.
Yeah.
Of 9 people.
Something like that, yeah.
They're the only ones that showed up for the reunion. So now Tula has a new task where she's trying to find her father's very close friends in this picture that she has and trying to hunt them down on the island, all while her family gets into their usual antics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I rewatched the first 2 movies.
I did too. I did as well.
Leading up to this, and man, that first one is a great rom-com. One of the great rom-coms.
So wonderful.
I forgot how enjoyable it was.
It's just, you can feel the love and care that was put into everything. All of the acting felt so realistic. I was like, that's a family.
Yeah.
That's full.
I went, years ago, I had one of my best friends we lived this. I was in a Greek wedding where my friend was married he's non-Greek, he married a Greek. And we went through this it was the whole scenario. And I remember I'm in the wedding. I couldn't be the best man because I'm not Greek. All this stuff.
That's so crazy.
And so it was great, being rewatching this. That was
wow, they nailed it.
So I had kind of high hopes for this one. I'm always wary when we have sequels that come out with such a gap between them. But I was excited for this one, and I was a little disappointed. It didn't capture anything. First off, it's My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. The wedding is so far in the background.
It's so small.
And we barely really get to know these characters.
Yeah,
and it feels like they kind of try to recapture of the, you're not a Greek, how can you marry a
Right,
Syrian?
absolutely.
You know, like,
that's what I kind of felt like that the whole movie. It just felt like they were just replaying the same beats.
Yeah.
Like even the second one, it was doing the same thing.
it was. It had having the mom and the dad in the second one.
Absolutely made it better.
So this one, the dad is unfortunately passed. The mom is only in this movie, and that's the other thing is a lot of these, like half the cast is only in this for short spurts of the movie. The mom is only in it for a few minutes, and she's got Alzheimer's.
Yeah, or like onset of it.
Right,
Yeah.
and so you're missing some of that. They did a good job, I thought, of introducing new characters. I thought the character of Victory was the best character in the movie. I absolutely
fun.
adored that character and want a Victory side story.
Yeah, absolutely. Her as the mayor on this island.
Like the John Corbett story plot of him like meeting with a monk, we never really got into.
It was like 2 scenes.
Well, yeah, and it was like. That's all we
out
gave
of
him.
nowhere.
And most of it is us watching them from a distance.
Yeah.
Like not even involved in the
Right, you
conversation.
don't even know what they're saying.
He gets a piece of paper.
It was disappointing.
Yeah, I was disappointed by a lot of that. I thought the character of Nick was fun because I thought he was the one who had surprising amount of heart for the movie. He's the one who cared about bringing his dad's ashes.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that because normally he's just the comedic relief in these.
Right. I mean, and there were moments throughout the 3 movies, like in the first 2, where Nick had these like really like nice moments with Tula, especially. Yeah. So it definitely carried that. And I will say, as another good thing with this movie is that they were able to get everyone in the cast back. They didn't recast anyone.
Yeah.
And that is, I feel like, almost impossible these days. And so that I will give it props for.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the new characters, Aunt Frida, I enjoyed her.
Aunt Frida and Aunt Tula.
I didn't love the Paris Aristotle.
It was the same
felt so
story as the
hokey.
second one. Yeah.
What are you doing here? Oh, will they? Won't they?
I'll leave you alone. Nope, I have to sit next to you on the plane.
Yeah. It felt really lazy, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I really like Nia Vardalos, but this is all hers. She has her fingers in every pie in this movie.
Exactly. So it's like, yeah.
I really wanted to enjoy this one, especially after really having a weekend of My Big Fat Greek Wedding viewing. And I think that might have done it a disservice that I watched the first 2, especially the first one, hours before seeing this one. And
it's just a weak reminder of like how good the first one was and that they're trying to recreate that, but it just feels hollow. Just feels hollow.
Yeah. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
It sounds like we have similar feelings on Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. What did you end up giving this film?
I also gave this one 2 stars.
Yeah. Slightly less than mediocre. I gave it 2 stars as well. Maybe we could have just left it at 2 movies.
We could have honestly. We could have left it at 1 movie.
We really could have.
Really
there was also the TV series, My Big Fat Greek Life, that she did.
I forgot that there was a TV. I've never seen the TV series.
I have not either.
I'm kind of afraid to.
Yeah. I think we're all right.
I think we're good.
All right, let's move on to what we have on our streaming spotlight this week, where we turn to, where was this, on Hulu? No, this was Prime.
Prime, yes, it was on Prime.
Over on Prime, it is a film called Sitting in Bars with Cake from director Trish Sy. This is based on the cookbook of the same name by Audrey Schulman. Kicks off as a rom-com about 2 20-something roommates, Jane and Corinne. New to Los Angeles, they're struggling to find romance. They work in an entertainment agency that's run by Bette Midler. Jane works there as a mail clerk, Corinne as an aspiring talent agent. And Corinne is the outgoing one, the center of the group. She's the one who pushes Jane to get outside of her shell. And Jane, obviously the more reserved one, and she's kind of the mother figure of the relationship to make sure everything in Corinne's life is taken care of. And but Jane has one thing that she truly enjoys, and that's baking cakes, which they use to hatch an idea. Jane is going to bake 50 different cakes. And let me tell you, these cakes look incredible.
So good.
And they do a great job of integrating the flavors of the cakes into the scenes.
Yes,
in different ways. Where I'm like, wait, what was that flavor? Ooh.
Every different cake title that it showed was so creative, and it was in different ways each time. It was so fun.
They looked incredible.
They looked so good.
So she's going to bake 50 cakes, and they are going to take them to bars as a way to pick up guys. And the way the various, like I said, the various cakes are introduced are cool. They're shot beautifully. But what comes next in this movie is a heartfelt tearjerker about friends coping with illness and parents struggling to be there, but to also give space to adult children. And all of this was really grounded in some amazing chemistry between Jane and Corinne early on. And you see how they balance each other out. And Jane's played by Yara Shahidi, and Corinne played by Odessa Azian. And I really loved their relationship, and it felt so authentic, which made it more heartbreaking as it went along.
I felt like this movie just got better and better as I was watching it.
Yeah.
Like it started off, I thought it was a little cringy. Like some of the stuff felt a little cliche, but it just felt like they molded perfectly in with the characters. And you're so right, their relationship was so wonderful.
Yes,
it's so nice seeing a movie that it has the two like leads, and they're not trying to force any kind of romance. They're not trying. It's just pure, genuine, like platonic friendship, love, and it was so wonderful. And it absolutely. Oh my gosh, I don't cry a lot. I don't cry very easily. This movie wrecked me.
Oh no!
I was sobbing at the end. It was. It felt like I was becoming friends with these people. Like I felt such a connection.
That's the
with
mark
them.
to a well-written story, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, because you feel the pain, you feel their struggles, and their struggles, especially for Cora, is she's trying to still live a normal life, even as her life is caving in around her, and her dad trying to. His way of coping with trauma of like, well, I got to fix this light switch.
I have to fix something.
Yeah, Ron Livingston as her dad, Martha Kelly as her mom.
They were so fun. I thought I was going to hate her parents when they were first introduced.
Yeah.
They were so fun.
Because you've seen these characters before done in a real cheesy way. But
Absolutely.
They felt, and for me as a father of adult children, I'm looking at it going, oh yeah, I mean, that's horrible when your kid is hurting and you're like, well, I want to nuzzle you in and take care of you, but you're an adult. And the only thing that I didn't understand is Bette Midler in this movie, probably the biggest star of the movie, right? Not sure.
She was just there. She was just there to be wacky.
She didn't do much. I questioned if she was really needed, but then I was reminded by somebody that the Corinne character was basically that Bette Midler was doing a character basically like out of her legendary movie Beaches, about two best friends, one of them suffering from an illness, one the quiet one the outgoing one. And I was like, I wonder if that was the director was like,
we gotta get Bette Midler.
We gotta get Bette Midler. Like I loved watching Beaches as a child. It probably inspired me with this movie. Let's get her in here to do basically nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I will say her character did have the like, because when you're first introduced, like she's played as the like really like strict, like not caring boss. But then by the end of the movie, you see like how much she really does care about her employees.
Yeah.
So like that makes it better for how not needed she really was in it.
Yeah. I will echo what you were saying. There were a few moments in this movie where I was wiping away tears. I'm a tough tear drawer sometimes. And we had shown this movie as part of an event a couple of weeks ago, and we had a crowd at the theater for it, and they came out, and I was getting feedback reactions. There were a lot of red eyes coming out, and a lot of people demanding cake when they came out, because, I mean, I'll tell you, my wife and I watched this movie. She was sobbing in the final third of this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And then sent me to the store, and I had to get a German chocolate cake.
That's the only way to help feel better after watching this, man. It's so sad.
It's a nice surprise, though.
It was very surprising. I was not expecting to love it as much as I did.
Yeah. What did you end up giving sitting in bars with cake?
I was going back and forth, but I ended up giving it a 4.5.
Wow. That is a very strong score.
Yeah. I almost gave it a 5, but the little cringy moments, I was like, but it's such a wonderful movie. I definitely recommend this to like everybody.
I agree with you. I did not expect this to be my favorite movie of the week, but I gave it 4 stars, 4 out of 5.
Absolutely.
It's really good. Stick through it because it does feel like in the beginning you're like, well, I've seen this movie before.
Right.
It gets really good.
It gets so good.
So Sitting in Bars with Cakes over on Amazon Prime. Well worth your time. Now let's turn to a movie throwback where I asked you to pick a movie, any movie. You chose one. Hopefully you chose it because you enjoyed it. So
oh, absolutely.
What are we talking about?
We're talking about Only Lovers Left Alive. It is directed and written by Jim Jarmusch and stars Tom Hiddleston and Tilda Swinton. And Tom Hiddleston is the reason why I watch this movie. I love that man. Favorite actor. Have multiple tattoos about his characters on
love
me.
it.
But this movie is just wonderful. So Tom Hiddleston, Tilda Swinton, they star as Adam and Eve. They're two vampires who have been married for centuries and start off the film in I think current day was 2010-ish, early 2010s. Eve is in Tangier, living with her old friend Christopher Marlowe, who's faked his death and is now living just
the great John Hurt.
The great John Hurt,
man.
yeah. And Adam is living in an abandoned Victorian house in Detroit. Adam is a famous musician who has been wanting to connect through his music, but he's unable to because he can't get recognized. He's a vampire. He's been a recluse. He's depressed, living in Detroit, upset about the state of the world and the humans that currently reside on it, which he refers to as zombies, which I think is great. Eve realizes how low Adam's gotten, and she decides to come home to him. And their happy reunion, unfortunately, is interrupted by Eve's really annoying sister, Ava, who's played by Mia, I'm going to absolutely butcher her name, Wasikowska.
Nice.
Thank you. But it's a very artsy film.
Yeah, it's a Jim Jarmusch film. He loves this aesthetic of the kind of bleak existence. This reminded me a lot of one of my favorite films is Strangers in Paradise, where it's a lot of, let's talk.
Yeah.
Let's just talk about the world and how messed up things are.
Yeah, absolutely. But also how messed up it is, but also still why we should stick around.
Right. I really enjoy this character. So I hadn't seen this film since 2013. You recommended it. I go, I have very little memory of this movie. So I was very excited to rewatch it because I love Jim Jarmusch. And the one thing that stood out to me is, man, I miss Anton Yelchin, who is in this movie and was one of my favorite young actors. Yes.
Yeah.
He was one of my favorite young actors and died tragically, getting run over by his own car, getting the mail. Yeah, and I was like,
that's so
I
sad.
thought he was great, and he's great in here.
I love his character.
He's just a guy who wants to fit in.
Yeah.
He's just bringing antique instruments and stuff to
just
Adam.
Do you like me? Is this
yeah,
cool?
exactly. Am I cool? Oh, you're wearing sunglasses? I'll wear sunglasses.
Oh yeah, we're all cool together. Yeah, he was so sweet. He was definitely a nice yin yang to Adam's kind of dreary everything. Ian was just
he's
there.
like a puppy dog.
Yep, absolutely.
Beautiful vampires in this movie, man. Don't watch. Look, I know you love Twilight. You looking for beautiful vampires? This is
absolutely is it. There's a shot in this movie of Tom and Tilda. And they're just lying together in
intertwined.
Bed. Yes, and it's so beautiful. It's I just want that on my wall as artwork.
And then Ava has to come in and ruin things. That's what
Ava.
she does. She ruins
she
things. But I love how you can feel their yearning when they're apart.
Yes.
These vampires are. The trivia says that Eve is 2,000 years old, and you can tell it's been probably centuries since they've been together, and they're yearning. And then once they get together, I love their interactions, and I love Adam just complaining about how there's nothing good in culture anymore, and you should have been here. You should have been here when it was good.
Talking about the
good old days, and the only good culture is his music, which is played on old instruments and this and that, and I found it to be surprisingly comedic in a very deadpan way. That there is actually kind of funny in parts.
It's you don't expect it to be. You don't expect the humor to hit, and then it comes in, and you're like, oh, that was hilarious, actually.
So, what makes this one of your films that you absolutely adore?
Well, first and foremost, like I said, Tom Hiddleston's in it.
Okay, fair enough.
But it's just it felt like it was such a comfort movie to me before my actual favorite movie, which is Tick, Tick, Boom, by the way.
Oh, of course.
But this used to be my favorite movie. It just felt so. It was so comforting to watch.
Sure.
The aesthetic is so wonderful, and it's just shown throughout the movie. There's a lot of really cool scene transitions that happen through it, and those are always super fun to watch. And like you've said, even Adam's relationship is just it's so believable. It's so believable that they've been together for centuries. It's the first phone call that they have with each other, the first thing they like say to each other, they just say their names.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, they're absolutely, they've been in love forever. Like,
I was listening to this soundtrack yesterday because I love the score to this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Music in this is
especially
beautiful.
the end when
oh my gosh, when they're just listening to
it's great.
I
read a little bit of something about Jim Jarmusch, who's notorious for being my way or the highway filmmaker. He's like, I have the vision. And apparently he had written in some action scenes in this movie, shot some action scenes into the movie, and got some studio notes saying, maybe some more action shots. And he said, okay, I'll just remove all the action then. How about that? You don't tell me what to do in a movie. You just removed all of it.
You want more? None of it.
And
you know what? I'm glad, actually, that I think it was better without the action.
Yeah, I think because, they're vampires. So I'm assuming there was a bunch of action, some vampire-type action. But what you don't see on the screen makes it great. You don't see a bunch of vampire attacks. In fact, I don't know if you actually really see.
No.
It's all insinuated, like at the end.
Right. You see, like, the after effects of it.
Right.
Or, like, you see after something's happened.
Because we all understand how vampires work.
Right. You don't need someone to hold your hand and explain that vampires drink people's blood.
The only thing I was missing was some vampire baseball. Because I'm a sucker for.
Well, that's Twilight.
Oh, that's all right. I'm always looking for that in my vampire movies. So obviously one of Alice's
it's so wonderful,
highly recommended movies.
It's a slow, like, doesn't have a lot going on movie, but it's so worth just watching and just having and enjoying every second of it.
I follow you on Letterboxd where you post your reviews and saw that you put the 5-star review up on this.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not gonna hide that.
Like, well, good. I hope so. All right, let's move ahead. Take a look at what is coming soon. We are looking at the weekend of September 22nd. We have a few films. First one is Expendables 4. Oh, you're looking forward to this.
Yeah, right.
Sylvester Stallone and friends are back and older than ever to try and save the world one more time. And surprisingly enough, Sylvester Stallone claims this is part one of a new Expendables trilogy. He never saw a sequel he didn't like. Boy, oh boy.
So many sequels.
These gentlemen are very old. Also that weekend, we have a film called Dumb Money, the story of the modern David and Goliath, when some regular people flipped the script on Wall Street and jacked up the stock of GameStop, making it the hottest stock around for a minute. Stars Paul Dano, Pete Davidson, America Ferrera, Seth Rogen, Anthony Ramos, a whole huge cast.
Nick Offerman.
Nick Offerman, yes, love that. Next we have It Lives Inside, an Indian-American teen struggling with cultural identity has a falling out with her friend and unwittingly unleashes a demon that feeds on loneliness. I don't know. I saw the original. I don't think it's. I saw a film called It Lives Inside. I don't think this is a remake.
Oh, okay.
Very different. But a demon that feeds on loneliness would be welcome at my house.
Right? Take it.
We also have over on Hulu a film called No One Will Save You. An exiled, anxiety-riddled homebody battles an alien who's made it into her home. It's a horror sci-fi starring Caitlin Dever from Booksmart, Ticket to Paradise, and that awful Dear Evan Hansen movie. Do you love Dear Evan Hansen?
I do.
I knew it.
I have a tattoo of it.
Oh, man. All right. And lastly, over on Netflix, we have Spy Kids Armageddon. The children of the world's greatest spies accidentally unleash an AI technology, an entity, if you will, that can control everything in the world. Stars Zachary Levi, Robert Rodriguez, Gina Rodriguez, and a bunch of kids. Did you ever get into those Spy Kids films?
I loved the Spy Kids films.
I figure you're the demographic for those Spy Kids films.
The first three are incredible. I did not watch the fourth one, and I don't think I'm going to watch this one. The first ones are so good.
They're really cute.
They're really, really good.
We got a new one. Before we go any further, we want to thank our sponsor, Marcus Theaters, The Palace here in Sun Prairie. Thank you for sponsoring the show, and thank you for giving us Alice to review some movies.
I'm so happy to be here. It was so fun.
I love it.
This was great.
Next week, I'm going to be talking about such films as A Haunting in Venice, A Million Miles Away, Love at First Sight, El Conde, and I'm going to be joined by Steve Sabatke for all of that action. Before we leave, Alice, thank you once again for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Hopefully this is not the last time.
I sure hope it's not.
All right. It's on film. You have to come back. All right. Well, until next week, I'm Jameson.
And I'm Alice.
Thanks for watching.